Welcome to Premium Cashflow Real Estate Investing Podcast with Sakar Cowley. During this program, you will hear guest experts sharing their experiences, best practices, and market insights. We discuss investing in multifamily apartment complexes and how a busy professional can passively invest hassle-free in various opportunities. Your host, Sakar Cowley, owns millions of dollars of assets and has done thousands of value-add projects over 20 years now. So listen in for insights. Here's your host, Sakar Cowley.
Welcome to another edition of Premium Cashflow Podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Marjeanne Fields. Marjeanne is with Hidden Treasures Real Estate, and she is the expert in digital marketing and uncovering, some of the leads and growing the influence that comes with doing the digital marketing. Marjeanne has been an expert in growing businesses and driving investment dollars for purchases of real estate, such as large multifamily. She has led teams and raised tons of capital and purchased multifamilies, and she has done residential fix and flips totaling over $20 million. Marjeanne has a business management degree in digital marketing and sales. She is a licensed realtor in Arizona and a certified expert in a variety of digital marketing techniques and various social media platforms. She has been a key principal in lots of construction related activities, which is their household business. And the business has, from humble beginnings, it has earned several million dollars. So it is an incredible resume that ties in with the very topic of today, where I think everyone is trying to grow their influence in the digital marketing space and the various techniques that come along with that. So with that, thank you, Marjeanne. I've been wanting to speak to you. I appreciate you taking time today, and I think the audience are going to love some of the tips and tricks that you have to share today. So for those folks who may not have had a good background about you, Marjeanne, give us a quick snapshot of your background, and let's jump into the topic of conversation today.
Sure. So I always tell everybody I've been in sales since I was 18. We're not going to say how many years that is, but we're pushing 20 years a little bit here. I've been in marketing. You never ask a girl, right? I've been in marketing for about 10 years. I got really tired of trying to constantly chase the carrot. So I got really good at learning how to get the carrot to chase me, which is why I got started in marketing. Wound up working with Google for a few years. And since then, yes, I've had the pleasure of working with, I think I'm at 5 different startups now and growing them to multi-million-dollar status with products being sold all over the world.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, Marjeanne, share with us, some of the tips and tricks that you have done to grow the business, right? I mean, you shared earlier that you had a household business and you kind of, grown that into a multi-million-dollar, business in a very short time. Give us some viewers some value about what some of the steps you took to, increase that throughput in your business.
Sure. So we'll start with the construction business. And that was actually my husband's company. Like you said, they started from very humble beginnings. When I got in there, we were able to create a digital appearance, basically, through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. You really do want to be on every single one of those sites. Whether you're going to use them or not is really irrelevant, but you want to be on them because it helps you in the SEO search rankings, right? So if I'm searching for somebody, if Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, all those things pop up, excuse me, then someone's going to say, oh, wow, this is really a leader in that space. Let me go ahead and call them. So always make sure on all the platforms. My favorite one to use, especially for the construction industry, was Facebook, and that is based on the user base that Facebook has and the age group, the demographics.
Sure.
So one of the tips that I love to share with Facebook is really utilizing groups. So if you have a business page, on your business page, when you're posting on the back end, you can actually see how popular some of your posts are. Now, if you have a post that people are really engaging with and it's highly valuable content for people, that's a great post to start sharing in groups that are relevant to your target market. So if your target market is moms, There's tons of mommy groups in wherever you live.
Sure.
So sharing highly, highly valuable content within the groups is a very good tip/trick. The only thing I would say with that, with a caveat, is a lot of the groups are more strict on what you can and cannot post. So just make sure that you're being respectful of the group's rules, or you will get kicked out.
Sure.
You'll get blacklisted.
Right. Now, Marjeanne, you shared that we can gain intelligence around that Facebook post, for example. So is that a normal post, or is that a post on, like, let's say your business page, or is that the post within your group? Could you maybe clarify on that?
Sure. So there's a lot of different kinds of posts. We've all posted memes and jokes, and we've all seen advertisements on business. That is not the kind of post that I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is information, valuable information that you're sharing with others to benefit their lives in some way, shape, or form. So let's bring it back to real estate. If you have, like, I have Google Alerts set up on my phone. So every single morning I get an email with all of the real estate happenings in the entire country, right? So if I notice that there's a very valuable article in there, or piece of advice, or analysis of the market, then that is something I would normally share on my page and my profile. Just a little side note, your page, when you post, only 1% of your followers will actually see that post.
Wow.
On your profile, your 7% will see it. So you really do want to do both. Okay. So if it's highly valuable, I'll share it on my page and share it on my profile. And if I notice people are really starting to like it or comment on it, then I can say, okay, there's definitely some interest in this. Let me also start sharing this with the groups. All it really does is create more exposure for you and positions you more of the leader and expert in your field.
Sure. Now, you shared also that some of the Google AdWords details that we can do. How about that? Like, how can we set up a Google AdWord, or what is involved in that, Marjeanne?
Okay, so the easiest thing for everybody to do without having to go and get certified and spend 6 months training and years practicing and blow a ton of money on it, the easiest thing you can do is go to ads.google.com. I'll say it one more time. It's ads.google.com. That's where you're going to be able to set up your account. You should have a Gmail associated with it. It'll prompt you to do everything. Google's really simple like that.
Sure.
But when you get in, the first thing you need to do is set up a remarketing list. Now, what that does is we're going to put little cookies onto or code onto your website. And when somebody goes to your website, it's going to drop little cookie crumbles onto their browser. Now, we've all had a pair of shoes or a wallet or some kind of advertisement follow us all across the internet, right?
Sure.
Everybody's had it. I promise you, it's not God telling you to buy you the shoes. It's people like me following you because we've left free marketing tags. So when you leave that tag on your site, it triggers the code to start accruing that the user data, the user information. So you'll get a remarketing list, and then when you put an ad into the platform, it starts following your entire list. Whoever's gone to your website within the last 60 to 100 days, it follows them around with your ads. So it's a really good way to stay engaged with the people who have already shown an interest in doing business with you anyways.
I see. And a lot of times, Marjeanne, I have heard that Google AdWords is a very inexpensive tool with a good, sort of good ROI and stuff. Can you maybe share as to what sort of cost and what sort of returns are involved in this type of medium?
Now, I wish I could say, here's what you should expect, or here's on average.
Sure.
Okay, so there's a couple things I want to definitely address. Google Ads can be the best form of marketing with the highest ROI for your business if you hire someone who knows what they're doing.
I see.
If you don't hire someone who knows what they're doing, it can be the most expensive waste of time that you've ever done in your entire business. Okay. So you really do want an expert in this field. It's a complicated platform that you really need to understand the data from and how to read it. Right. That being said, my husband's company, he's a contractor, and in an industry that normally spends anywhere from 10 to 15% of their total gross revenue on marketing, my husband spends 2%.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. So
And
what is
80%
involved?
of his leads come from that.
Right. So what is involved, margin, into this, right? Is that like specific keywords, or is that more about keywords plus targeting some age, or sort of the demographic, or by, let's say, like a zip code data and things like that? What's involved in that AdWords? If you can share some more details, that'd be great.
All of the above. So the first thing that I do is I research the keywords to get an idea of how much this is going to cost you and what you can expect to get out of it, right? So certain words like mesothelioma, that particular keyword, every time you click on an ad that is triggered by that keyword, it costs the advertiser $200 per click.
Wow.
So I would not take on a client like that because it's going to cost them way, way too much money, right? That's not necessarily their best form of advertising. However, I have another client who's a life coach, and her clicks only cost her $1. So that would be a great person to get it out there. So it depends on the popularity, the relevance, and the bidding strategy. Some advertisers will do some funky things on the back end that really drive that cost per click up. So I discourage people from doing that. But in a normal industry, you're looking anywhere between $2 and $5 per click. And you can geo-target, you can demographic target, you can target by interest, hobbies. I can get down to the nitty gritty. The more you know about your target market, the better you'll perform in AdWords. The biggest mistakes I see people make is they make it too broad. I'm advertising to everybody. I'm not sectioning it out to make it very specific on what the user wants. At the end of the day, all Google cares about is their end user. So the more you can please that user and deliver them an ad relevant to their search term and a landing page that is answering their question almost immediately, you have 2 seconds, literally 2 seconds to capture someone's attention, otherwise they bounce.
I see. Great advice. Great advice. Thank you, Marjeanne, for that. Now, moving on to, let's say, Facebook, for example. What are some of the things someone can do on the Facebook platform, for example?
Yeah, the social media is much easier to do marketing on, especially if you're newer at it. Google Ads, you should definitely hire somebody, but social media is a great place for people. The first thing that you want to do is set up a content calendar. So you can get a calendar. I'm just going to show you just a basic little calendar. You can get a calendar just like that. And every single day, you're going to write in what you're going to be advertising, right? Or posting. Let me track that. Posting. So a general rule of thumb, 2 days a week, a meme, a joke, a GIF, something that breaks up the mundane, right? So that's 2 days a week. Another 2 days a week, you're going to post articles relevant to your particular industry. So if it's real estate and you're in multifamily, make sure it's very valuable and specifically targeted. Then the other 3, then one day you're going to post just a basic advertisement of your business. And the other 2 days are your expert opinion or stories that you've already gone through, things that come from your brain, your experience, your knowledge. Right? So if you keep that rule of thumb, it makes your life so much easier when it comes to social media. You can go into your business page, and what I'll do is every single month I go into my business page and I spend about 2 hours and I set up all the posts for the entire month. That way, no matter what I'm doing, my little marketing machine is running for me on the back end and constantly generating me leads while I'm doing other things.
I see. Now, a related question there, Marjeanne, is that the various news or your articles or, sort of any other updates that you shared, should they be basically composed and scheduled ahead of time? Is that what you're alluding to?
Yes. So you want to post a day going out scheduled ahead of time. If you go into the back end of your page, go into publishing tools, schedule posts. Okay. That's how you do it. In addition to that, if you find relevant, interesting articles, facts, if you have an opinion you want to share, there's nothing wrong with posting twice in one day, but you do want to set up your Facebook on a drip. That's an employee. You're getting it to work for you 24 hours a day, just like your website. Those are the 2 best employees you will ever have. They never sleep, they never eat, they never take breaks. You need to nurture them and make sure that they are functioning for you as your best employee. Don't ignore social media ever.
Got it. And what about the sort of the engagement, the likes and the loves that come with the post? Like, what should be the strategy to sort of, continue that conversation and engagement with, folks who are sort of reacting to your posts and things like that?
Engage with your followers. Let me repeat myself. Engage with your followers.
Got it. Got
Don't
it.
just get a bunch of people underneath you. They don't care about you. They're not actually engaged with you. So they're not going to recall your brand or name when they're out in their daily lives.
Sure.
But if you have engaged with them and they feel a part of a community, now when I'm going out on the golf course and I'm talking to my buddy who has an extra $100,000 to invest, I'm going to remember you because you engaged with me, because I've seen you, we've interacted, right? So always when people are commenting, always comment back. If you see other people posting things that you really like, leave them comments, engage. They need to say your name over and over and over and over and over again. People don't remember you until they've at least heard or seen you at least 12 times, at least 12 times.
Wow. That's great insight right there. So continue to engage with different comments or posts and things like that. Now moving on to like different strategies that we can do within Facebook, for example, if we can stay on that medium for now. Like there are Facebook ads. There are ways you can do your post and boost your post, for example. So what would you advise, like what different things we can do within that spectrum as well?
Facebook would really love me to tell you to boost posts and to use Facebook ads. So I'm sure that they would love to hear that. Unfortunately, in my experience, it depends on your industry and it depends on your product.
Sure.
Consumer products like brushes, and I got a dachshund ramp because I have dachshunds. Consumer products like that are really, really good for advertising because it's like clickbait, right? It's like standing at the grocery store and they have candy in the aisle.
Sure.
Those last minute buying decisions. So Facebook ads for that are phenomenal. Even courses that require you to make an instant decision are phenomenal things to advertise on Facebook. If you are looking for investors, you've got to be very, very careful about what lines that you are crossing. You're supposed to create a relationship with these people, not do general advertising. Correct. So if you're an investor relations and you're looking for investors, there's many, many other ways that you can accomplish that through Facebook without paying for advertisements.
I see. So let's say for investment related businesses, or perhaps a lot of syndications and folks who are advertising, or perhaps looking for high net worth individuals to engage in their business and bring in capital and things like that. So you're advertising, or I guess you're saying that we don't advertise in that sense, but really engage, build that relationship, and then go in with that angle, basically.
So let me go back to this, okay? Because we're going to specifically talk about investors, because that form of marketing is very, very different than a product-based or service-based marketing. Okay? So if you're thinking about investors, let's go back to engagements. Let's go back to groups. The first thing you want to know is everything you possibly can about your investors. How old are they? Where do they live? How much money do they make? What kind of house are they in? What price of house are they in? Do they have children? How old are their children? What are their hobbies? What are their interests? What kind of car do they drive? You see how deep you can go?
Sure.
If you know all these things, then you can join groups. And if the people that are in the groups, if you know your target market, like let's say, for instance, I know my investors, they really like Corvettes. So I'm part of Corvette groups, right? Well, now when I'm going in and I'm engaging with these people, you can find out a ton of information on the web. If you really need to know, hey, does this guy have money? You can look it up. It's really not that hard, right?
Sure.
So if I know this is my target market, let me start engaging with these people, create a relationship. Now you can do one-off private messages. You can invite them to groups. You can invite them to webinars where you're presenting deals. But you have to create the relationship. So hang out in groups, do a lot of engagement. Videos are a wonderful, wonderful thing so people can get to know you. And I'm sorry, one of the things that I did forget to include is at least one day a week you need to do a video. At least one day a week.
I see. I mean, it's amazing. We went from a text to a picture to a video now,
I
and
know.
pretty much, video is the medium of communication, and people can see, feel you, and kind of see your reactions and things like that. So,
Well,
it
not
could.
only that, but I want to add something really quick, not to
Sure.
interrupt you, but Google is changing their algorithm, and those websites that don't have video on them will be irrelevant in the next 18 to 24 months. Like
Wow.
literally nobody will be able to find you. Get videos up. I don't care if your makeup's done. Nobody cares if your hair's done, if your makeup's done, if you're in the right thing. Nobody cares if you say the wrong thing. They don't care about that. You just need to create videos. When
All
we're all
right.
looking at videos, nobody cares if your makeup's done, right? They just
All
want the
right.
content.
Now my homepage will have lots of videos. That's for sure. You gave me the license.
They should, but the videos, they're because Google is changing that right
Sure.
now. The websites that do have the videos are being pushed up in the search rankings. The ones that aren't compliant will be eventually shut down completely. So
Boy.
get videos up
Awesome.
today.
Thank you. Great tip there, right there. Now, Marjeanne, moving on, obviously within social media, there's so much to cover than we can perhaps cover in one podcast, but I'll try to do my best as to cover as many mediums as possible, right? Let's cover like LinkedIn or Instagram for that matter. Like what tips you can offer within those platforms?
For investors, I highly, highly recommend LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great way to get to know people. And the advantage that you have there is you can actually see people's professional history, right?
Sure.
So I know if I'm talking to the barista at Starbucks or if I'm talking to the CEO of Starbucks, right? So these
Sure.
are good things to know. And honestly, there's not necessarily one secret sauce of one platform versus another. A lot of it really does come back to the engagements. There's groups on LinkedIn. Know your target market, know where they're hanging out, get in those groups and get active. Start sharing valuable information. We all have stuff in our head that only us have, and it's this really awesome information. Well, get it out there. Stop holding it in. Like, yes, it's valuable, and yes, you should be paid for it, but the more value that you create, the more people want to join on board with you. And if you're in investor relations and you position yourself as the expert, you will be surprised how many people have fled your way in a very short amount of time. So get involved with those groups, engage with your followers, get more connections, reach out to people, say, hey, I'm really, there's nothing wrong with a private message saying, hey, I've noticed what you're doing. I'm really excited about it. I'd love just to be able to talk to you. To do a Zoom call. We live in a world now with COVID. You don't even have to go to coffee. You can invite somebody to a Zoom call. It's free for everybody.
Sure.
Easy.
Now, Marjeanne, moving on, a related question there is that like the live TV concept that we have now, right? A lot of folks, including me, struggle with that as to what's the applicability or what's the right sort of use of it and how to use it creatively, right? So for example, we have Facebook Live, you have YouTube Live, you have Insta TV. I forget if LinkedIn also has some kind of a live medium or not, but what is your take on this live medium of sorts, like how that can be used creatively, for example?
The ones that don't do it right are the ones that get on and go, yeah, so I think today we might talk about this, but I'm not.
I can tell you're such a pro. I mean, you can act by the spur of moment. I love that.
Oh God, it makes me crazy. So here's how you do it. Okay, here's a professional marketers. This is how you do this. Okay.
Sure.
We call them storyboards.
Okay, got it.
There's so many free apps out there. You can literally just create a storyboard. Now, do you have to stick to this script 100%? No, of course not. And don't get so nervous like, oh my God, I made a mistake. Like, it's okay. But get yourself an outline, storyboard, some kind of direction so you don't just sit there and wander and stumble through your entire presentation on live TV. That's a really good way to lose all your followers. But if you're organized and you create, again, valuable content on those live programs, highly valuable, get to the point as fast as you can without, sounding like, an idiot, but get to the point, write your storyboard, stay organized, and you'll be fine. The rest of it doesn't matter. We're all used to seeing each other in yoga pants now, so It's fine.
Awesome. Great advice. I mean, I'm so thankful to you for, providing such a great insight, Marjeanne. You absolutely lived up to what I had definitely heard regarding you. Now, I love that. I mean, because this is such a niche medium that, obviously we had to seek expert advice from folks like you who have worked in this field for such a long time. And now, Marjeanne, you have, sort of in a very short time, you have generated so much of investment dollars from all different mediums, right? Can you maybe share some of the strategies that you used and how you sort of found new investors, or perhaps interacted with a bunch of new folks that you can maybe give some tips for our listeners?
I can tell you how I did it, but that may not even be a possibility at this point. So, well, I guess you can. Okay, so here's how I did it. So I went to every single educational thing I could get my hands on, every single group, through every single one of them, right? As long as there was a group of more than 100 people, I was there.
I see.
I go in and I work the room. So one of the tips in networking specifically, I don't know if this is good for guys, but for girls, hang out in the bathroom. You'd be shocked. I'm not kidding. I literally would hang out in the bathroom, and everybody's defenses are dropped in the bathroom. It's really easy to start a conversation with the girls. Hey, what color lipstick is that? That's a really pretty shoe, or whatever. You're just trying to get an open conversation. You'd be surprised how many people I got out of the bathroom. Like, that's crazy. But so then what I would do as a follow-up system, because that's great that you met them. If you're meeting 500 people, what do you do with that, right? You can't just put all their cards in a box. So I would invite every single one of them to be a friend on my Facebook and like our page. And then I'd put them into a drip system with emails. And now I'm hitting, and I have a reconnect week every single quarter. So now I have a trifecta of ways that I'm in communication with these people. They're seeing me every single day on Facebook. They're getting my drips once a week on email. And then I'm calling them every quarter as well. You can't get rid of me. I'm like a little squeaky wheel.
Now, also,
that's how you create those relationships and that instant trust.
That's great. Now you talk about the drip system, right? What sort of platform, and give us some tips about, how you can set that up, or what's involved in that, setting that up, by the way.
Okay. So this answer depends on how much money you have to invest in your business.
Sure.
Okay. So if you're looking for a free platform, MailChimp is the rock star of free platforms. Okay.
Sure. Okay.
A moderate platform, Active Campaign, is I think about $50 a month to get the features that you need, and you can set up a funnel system in there and a drip system. It also it's a CRM, so it houses your database, and I think you can do some social things in there. But it's a really good bang for your buck, right? Sure. But my absolute favorite will always be HubSpot. HubSpot does all of it. But you're looking at like $1,500 a month, and it's complicated. You kind of have to know what you're doing. So for most people, hang out with MailChimp, hang out with Active Campaign. Between those two things, you'll have pretty much everything that you need.
Sure. And a related question there, Marjeanne, is that a lot of times I've heard investors using Podio as well. And people say that, hey, Podio, you can customize, do lots of different workflows and do different, add-ons and things like that. I was wondering if you had any, thoughts related to that.
So I poked around in Podio. At the time, it didn't make sense for what we wanted to do, but it looked like a really good platform. And I know a lot of people really, really like that platform. I don't have anything negative to say against it. The reality is that there's a million different platforms. Find the one that works for you. If it makes sense to you, if it's easy for you to operate, easy to learn, and you can navigate through it, that's the one for you.
That's awesome. And a couple of last questions, and I definitely appreciate your advice. And I kind of almost lost track of how quickly the time went by. Now, a related question there, Marjeanne, is that Instagram, for example, is a medium that we typically associate with a lot of young listeners, or like a lot of young teenage crowd that is typically associated with it, and also a sort of a slightly misunderstood platform is Pinterest, for example. Can you share like how we can maybe leverage Instagram, and perhaps how we can use Pinterest to our advantage?
Okay, so again, you really need to know your target market. Instagram can be really great if your target market is hanging out there. more and more of the baby boomer generation is starting to get on Instagram, and it definitely is not one that you should ignore. However, it is limited in the sense that you have to have an image or you have to have a video, and you can't always go back like you can with Facebook. So what I always tell people is, like, whatever you're putting on Facebook, if you can, put it on Instagram too. Engage with your followers, answer the messages. The one trick I will say with Instagram specifically, and this also is applicable for Twitter actually, if you can find the influencers, or let's say like here you have Fogo de Chao. Fogo de Chao is a very nice restaurant. A lot of people that have higher net worth are going to go to this restaurant and like it on Instagram and Twitter. So what I'll actually do is go into the restaurant's Instagram page and start following their followers. And in turn, Instagram sends them a message, hey, she started following you. Would you like to follow her back? So now I'm still creeping in there, but slowly. So, but I really want to talk about Pinterest. So Pinterest is one of the best kept secrets in the marketing world. Do you know my husband's company gets 10,000 visitors a month to his website from Pinterest alone?
Wow. 10,000 a month. Unbelievable. Wow. Tell me how.
If you're not doing Pinterest, you are hurting your business. You need to be on Pinterest. I don't care what you post on Pinterest. It doesn't matter. Create boards. Post as many pictures, get as many pictures on there as you can, and link them back to your website. When other people save those pictures, let's say I'm looking on there and I'm looking for multifamily properties. Oh, Joe Schmo saved a multifamily property. Let me click on that particular pin. Oh, that goes to these guys' website. Oh, looks like they're investors. Looks like they've been doing it a long time. You see how it just flows?
Sure.
Get on Pinterest.
Interesting. And I like the fact that you mentioned how you can be creepy by going to Twitter and, so good.
Digital marketers, we're all little creeps.
I like that. I like this, the sense of the word and how you can, it can mean different things. So it's been fun. I personally gained a lot, Marjeanne. Thank you for coming on. Kindly share with the listeners, as you moved on, Marjeanne, some of the best advice you have received from, let's say experienced folks, or whether it was your parents or whether it was anyone for that matter. What are some of the good advice that you have received so far that kind of keeps you in balance and discipline throughout as you continue your investment journey?
Ooh, I have two, and they're kind of polar opposites here, but my first one the mantra I've lived from forever. My father actually taught me this one, and it is treat others as you want to be treated. Right.
Awesome.
And persist until you succeed.
Awesome. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love both of them. Thank you for sharing that. Now, Marjeanne, please share with the listeners, kind of how they can get in touch with you and learn more about your company and different things that you're doing.
The absolute best way to get in touch with me is to email me.
Sure.
My email is mj.riseabove@gmail. So MJ like Marjeanne, because nobody can spell it. So we go by MJ. .riseabove, because we're rising above, and at Gmail.
Awesome. Incredible. Great advice, Marjeanne. I absolutely love your energy and the expertise you bring in. I hope a lot more listeners can, take advantage of your services and your expertise that you bring into this table. It's been fun. I appreciate you coming on, and thank you for your time today. And it was fun to, be with you and, kind of learn from you here.
Thank you. I had a blast.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to Premium Cashflow Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please join us at premiumcashflow.com to sign up for weekly updates, research articles, and more. We will see you again for another great interview with an expert guest.